Welcome to the Nerd Social Club Podcast 101. It is Ped, it is Aaron. We are here for another week to discuss everything that's going on in the nerd world. And there's always something going on, Aaron. There's always new shows dropping. There's things to catch up on. There's just always something to talk about.
Absolutely, and now cinemas are open back up, and there's a bit of a hype. You know, we're not far off, like a Black Widow, for example. Comic-Con season is just, weeks away. So we're going to get some news for that. And you know as well as I do, when Comic-Con really pops off, I mean, that whole weekend is just flooded with news. So summertime's a good time. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to get myself to that San Diego Comic-Con one year. It is like the Holy Grail, isn't it? It's the Holy Grail to get to, just to be part of it. Even though I think it would probably actually be better to not be there, because I think you probably find out more stuff about what's going on by not being there. The queues for Hall H and all that kind of thing. You probably miss out on so much stuff by not being there. It is, to be honest, the one I want to see developed is, obviously we've seen in the last couple of years, we've seen how, well, probably be 2 years ago now, wouldn't it? Is Star Wars Celebration. I just wonder whether Marvel and Disney will decide to make a Marvel Celebration, because you know, that Star Wars Celebration, the last one, was so good, and it was obviously one thing for one set of fans, and I just wonder whether they'll do that, because that would be. Can you imagine how many people would want to go to that?
Yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing. So for anyone who doesn't know, Pat and I actually watched Star Wars Celebration because they aired it all live on YouTube, and it was at the time pre-COVID, anyone actually doing anything like that. So we were both like, this is what it should be done. Like, that's way more accessible for like fans all around the world. You've got more inclusion. You get more buzz online about people talking and sharing the stuff. And even for like anyone who sells like merchandise or like, you know, comics or things like that, that's the best way. Like, you can promote those people, put them live on YouTube, and now you've got this like worldwide audience. So after I saw that, I was just like, oh, it's amazing. And obviously we got the trailer at the time for Rise of Skywalker, and I would have loved to see more stuff like that. But it's hard. I've got a mate who goes to San Diego Comic-Con, and he says every year, he's like, it's tough because you miss out, like you said, on everything.
Yeah.
But it's exciting being there because it's just so many people.
Yeah. To be honest, let's be honest, Comic-Cons are and always have been and should be just like big shops. Yeah. Big places for like independent retailers to sell independent comic book shops and that kind of thing. So, and I know, like, you know, once you go down the route of a celebration thing, then you are taken away from that a little bit. A lot of people in the comments so far, let us know what you've been watching in the last couple of weeks. A football fan's thought says, hi lads, finished Sweet Tooth the other day, it was very good. I still haven't got round to finishing Sweet Tooth, just because. I'll tell you why, little secret, the door's shut.
Here's the reasons.
Right, this was a show I started with my missus, right? If it was a show I'd started on my own, it'd be done. It'd be done.
And dusted.
It'd be done. So, I will speak for, I'm sure, a part of our audience that can say that genuinely you have to get round the minefield that is your partner falling asleep on you. You have to get round that. So let's be honest, that dictates when you can watch things if you've started something new. So, and sometimes you're not in the mood for that kind of thing. Sometimes you're in the mood for something else. I'll talk about this in a minute, but we watched Lupin this week, so that was our go-to show this week. But Sweet Tooth hasn't been finished. But everyone knows that. Everyone knows. Like, listen, I watched Mayor of Easttown. I battered it. I absolutely battered it. I battered Mythic Quest this week, because these are shows that I started on my own and watched on my own. And then you get the older. Have you been watching that? Yes, I have been watching it while you've been asleep. While you've been fast asleep. I've been watching it. Okay, it's my life.
I'm committed.
I'm in this. If I had to watch everything with you, I wouldn't watch anything. So
I feel your pain.
You know,
I feel your pain.
It's work. It's not entertainment. Which is exactly what I say for my other job or my real job. I have to watch them. It doesn't matter who the manager is. I have to watch them. Okay.
So subjective.
So let's not. Yeah. So this is weird. But let's, guys. This is a quiet space. This is a place we come to talk about other things. It's a safe
This
space.
Is a happy space because we know
this is a happy place.
This makes us happy.
Can I just tell you a very quick? Can I say a very quick story about when people say
whatever you want?
This is a happy place. This is a very quick story that I'm sort of part of, but I'm not part of. So in 2006, went over to Orlando, and we were all in Disneyland, and there was a lot of us. There was like 20 of us, and this massive storm broke out, massive rainstorm, and people just run in all different directions. And me and my brother-in-law, we run in one direction, but my wife, who was about to be my wife, she wasn't quite my wife then, Sam, one of my friends, I think my sister and someone else got caught in like this where the park where you park your prams, and all these people started like fighting amongst each other, like all kicking off. It was like a proper storm. People were getting really angry with them. I think maybe punches were thrown, but someone just basically said, this always gets me, and it's the way it was explained to me as well. Someone went, "Can you people stop? This is supposed to be a happy place." And that's what anyone says from now on. That's the way I always think about it now. Anyone ever says that, I'm always taken back to Florida 2006, where there was a fight amongst people in Disneyland, and people.
I've got this view of like, it's a magical place. It's a magical place.
Yeah, and I'm just devastated. I'm just devastated that was that I was on the other side of the park when that happened. So. But I'm always taken back to that.
The things you see at like theme parks, it's something else. It's special.
Yeah, theme parks are theme parks. There's a mix of different thing in theme parks. This is where you've got to get it right. Is of people who really want to enjoy the day, like really, who are forcing themselves to enjoy the day. So they are dragging themselves and the family round to make sure. We've got to be on that ride, but we've got to be in that queue because we've got fast passes for this and this, and we've got to be in there for that. And then there's people who just like, I'm not bothered. I've been here before. We'll take it as we are. There's obviously different scales of people who go to theme parks. I think if you go for the first time, you do get that. You do get that thing of like, we have to hit this and we have to hit that. It's our mission today to have fun. We're having fun, everybody. They become Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's Vacation. It's like, we're having fun. We're gonna have so much fun. They'll have to surgically remove the smile off our faces. That's how much fun we're gonna have. So it's As you get older, I think you just depends. If you've got kids, I suppose it's hard because you're paying all that money and you've got to have fun. And they're like, can we just stop? And we just look at that thing? No, we haven't got time to look at that thing.
Keep moving.
I haven't paid all this money for you not to go on the ride. I'm too small. We'll give you a bumper seat. I'll fall off. I don't care.
So what have you been watching this week then? Other than like...
Okay.
Let's go through it.
So I watched I did finish Mayor of Easttown last week. You guys were giving me a little insight, and yes, wow. There was one big wow moment in it, a big wow that I I won't spoil for anyone, but there was a huge wow moment that was, incredible moment. And a great show, like I said.
As well.
Yeah, also, there also is that thing of like, it's a show that is on all the way to the end. It's got various different elements that happen towards the end, but it's such a good show because it's not just about a character dealing with solving a murder and the disappearance of two girls. It's also about how she deals with her own tragedies and her own things that happen in her own life and small town America and the drugs epidemic and other people's messed up families and stuff. It's such a good show,
dark.
well written, Yeah, it's but you say it's dark, but do you know what? I didn't find it dark. I don't think. I found a lot of it to be like true to life. I found a lot of it to be about subjects that we deal with every day. We just. I think a lot of the subjects in it we put to one side and don't really want to confront because those things are not supposed to happen in just like normal people's lives. And the irony is that they are happening in people's lives: drugs abuse, mental health issues, infidelity, family squabbles. These things are hitting people on it, and it's also those things bounce off each other as well. One thing leads to another with those kind of things. And I think what we always get, I think we get less and less now, but we always used to get this thing of the cop being like a squeaky clean person. But I think what we've seen, and not that in this, Kate Winslet's amazing, and it's not like she's not squeaky clean. She's got her own demons, but that's what's great about it. Is like she has got her own demons and she is dealing with her own things and I what was it, 7 episodes, and I just thought it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like it was it had this one major through story with all these little side stories and yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Really, really good, intense show.
I couldn't believe the end, like the very end, and that's not even the shocking thing.
The very end.
The very end was just
it
was heartbreaking. Like I couldn't believe it actually like happened. But yeah, brilliant show, and
brilliant show.
Small moments for me. There's actually a mention of my university that I went to, and it's funny because my university that I went to in America is tiny. Like it's just like you drive through farm country, and all of a sudden there's this like small town with a university. And the only reason that small town does so well and exists is because of this university. But it's literally in the middle of nowhere. And I was just like, right there. I know. Is it a
university that Muggles can't see?
Don't know. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to
drive past. The Muggles drive past, and it just seems like an abandoned castle. But when you go past, it's good stuff. Good stuff. No, it's a good show. As I mentioned before, I also watched Lupin Part 2. So they'd obviously split the series into 2. They put the first 5 on earlier in the year and then brought back the second 5. So it was obviously one big show. But a great show, French show. Anyone who doesn't know, Lupin is the French equivalent of Sherlock Holmes. Someone who's quite prevalent in their literature and TV and stuff, films in France. They've made a lot of. He's like a gentleman.
A gentleman thief? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like this idea of a Sherlock Holmes kind of institution in France on this character. So it's not about Lupin; it's about a character played by Omar Sy who does things based off the back of. He takes inspiration from the books, like, when he's planning to do something, it's like, what would Lupin have done, or what would happen in that situation? And it's a really good show. I think it's the most watched foreign show in America, which is really good. That a show has made Americans, watch a French show, because I have no problem with watching shows that are in with subtitles. I actually tried to watch Money Heist without the subtitles, and the accents are just terrible. They're like done by
some dubs. Some of the dubs can be really, really good. Like I watched like a Spanish one called Extreme, and the dubs are really, really good on that. There was another one, Into the Night, where the dubs are good, but then there's others and the dubs are just terrible. Like it's just like, we're gonna go into the bank. Hey,
that's it. It's the accent. It's the accents more than anything else. It's not like old fashioned sort of Japanese films where it's all over the place. It really is the accents, and when you get the real accents on, the character sort of comes to life, because there's a character in Money Heist who's got like
convey the personality.
He's got like a really soft. Yeah, he's got like quite soft. He's quite softly spoken.
Yeah.
But when you get his real accent, he just suddenly comes to life because he's that's the character he is. So it's quite a strange one, but no, it's really good. I love Paris. I've been many times, so just getting to see the city again was wonderful to see it. And it's a good show. It's clever. It's got a lot of good setups and then reveals and it's dead easy to watch as well. There's nothing hard about it. The actor is familiar. It will be familiar to people. He was in Jurassic World. He was the
other
one of the the Velociraptor Wranglers. Yeah. And he was also in X-Men: Days of Future Past as well.
Yes. Can see the character and I forget who he played.
Yeah, he was one in the future. He was one of the people in the future. So it's a really good show. Really easy to watch. Nothing difficult about it at all. And the other thing I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot to mention last week, I watched New Mutants as well. And it is. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. That's all it is. It's not.
Yeah.
It has tedious links, obviously, to other X-Men films. In fact, I actually think they may have put clips of Logan in afterwards. It has links definitely has links with Logan.
To kind of leverage it.
So I don't know whether they were put in after Disney got its hands on it, or whether they were put in before, or where it quite fits in with the timeline. But there's definitely little flashbacks of Logan in it from when they were in the facility that his daughter comes from. So I don't know. As I said, I don't know whether they've put that in. It's a little standalone little thing, and it's cool, and it's fine, and it's not really terrible.
It's just better than the last. It's better than the last two X-Men films.
On par, maybe. I don't know if it's better. It didn't really do anything for me.
I was gonna say we're talking about being the best of a bad bunch. It's not amazing, but just an inch above kind of where they sit. If I had to choose between the three, I prefer to watch a New Mutants over Apocalypse or Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's still just there's nothing memorable.
It's just no. The only thing memorable is the girl who's in it, and she's in The Queen's Gambit. And obviously this was filmed
and Anya
3 years ago. Yeah, and she's going to be a huge star, let's be honest. If she's a huge star already. She's going to be huge, but she filmed this 3 years ago. So she's good at it. But apart from that, the rest are just me. So I watched it. I've completed the Fox X-Men saga. So
it's done. A tedious task, but at least it's in the books and you can forget about it now. Yeah. Now we can look forward to the true Marvel X-Men days when they eventually come down the line.
Yeah. And they actually fit into a world, which I'm sure that world will.
And they make sense.
Yeah, they will make. I mean, we'll talk about Loki a bit later, but look, that's all starting to get opened up now to a point where it might all. We might be able to figure out where they're coming from. So have you watched anything this week? Have you had time to watch anything this week?
I've watched a couple of things. I watched a documentary on HBO Max called LFG, which stands for Let's Fucking Go, which documents the struggle of the US women's nationals teams fight for equal pay and just equal treatment. It's an hour and 45 minutes, but honestly, it's a superb documentary, but it's kind of one of those ones you watch and you're like, how is this being allowed to happen? I mean, you're talking about a 4-time World Cup winning team, 4 gold medals in the Olympics, and they go through the documents, and it's kind of I've heard a lot of different arguments about it, it depends who earns the most money and stuff like that, and they tackle those issues and they say, well, we did an audit of the financial statements over the last couple of years, and over that period, the women have made more revenue So that kind of argument gets thrown out the window, and they talk about the allocation of funds. So because the women have won the World Cup, the last, I think, 2 World Cups, they actually win $30 million, I think it is, that gets allocated to the home country. And then the home country is allowed to kind of divide that as they wish. Well, the women basically have to stay in like Motel 6s and get put on economy flights, where the men are getting sent out on, like, you know, chartered planes, 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
And you look at this, like, the difference in comparison of success, and you're like, okay, all they're looking for is equal pay. But like, you're kind of watching this through, and you're like, all right, well, there's clearly evidence here that the women should be on more and the men should be on a lot less, because they're just, you know, they're not competing at the same level here. So it's a good watch. It kind of documents one of the women on the team, Jessica McDonald, and she basically says like all these sacrifices she's had to make, and she currently lives with another family in North Carolina, because the life of a soccer player, she's always moving around, and the women's league, she doesn't earn as much to kind of get by. So, you know, she's living with this family who like basically put her and her son up. And it's heartbreaking again to see, like, these are professional players making sacrifices for the family in states where they're not from. And some of them like just aren't making enough to get by. And it's for the quality of the league, players are actually turning away from not doing it. Like, I can't afford to do this. I can't live like this, even though it's my dream to, you know, play football, play soccer. It's just not, it's not achievable. So it's kind of heartbreaking in places. It's good to watch. Like, the women's team plays with such panache when they play. Like, they're a quality team. So highly recommend the documentary. It's very good. And I'm trying to think what else I watched. I watched Ice Road last night on Netflix, and it's just very Liam Neeson. Firstly, it's a fantastic premise. They have to drive. These miners are at this place in Canada where the quickest way to get there, they've got like 30 hours, and they have to like truck in these like heavy pipes to allow the miners to be able to like to set them free and get some air so they can, you know, get out. And the only way to get there is to drive over these like frozen lakes, ice road. But apparently there's an actual real thing. Well, the season's done, and it's a very dangerous thing. So they're in April, so the lakes have started to kind of like thaw a bit. They're still frozen, but it's considerably more dangerous. So this crew of truckers has to go over these multiple ice lakes, you know, to basically get this equipment to these miners. But there's company sabotage in there as well. So, but overall, it was Liam Neeson's in it, and he's all right.
That sounds terrible.
I thought the trailer looked
sounds
good.
Like a Discovery Channel program.
I did the
Will they make it?
Really...
George has got a flat tire. Will they make it? We'll find out after this break.
Lawrence Fishburne's in it as well. It's got a pretty decent cast, but yeah, does not live up to the hype.
Yeah, they're just giving like people money now, and he's just like, we need a film. I seen a little thing on the Tomorrow War, a little featurette on that this week, and it's the same with that. It's like it's gone through all kinds. It was supposed to go in the cinemas, and in the end, it's just like Amazon was just like, "Is 200 million? Let's just go. Let's just put you on," because and obviously it's Chris Pratt, and you know, it's just we've got a big name, put it in a movie, make the movie, put it on a streaming site. It'll do good numbers, and we move. You know, people come and watch it, and that's all. It really matters. Right, we've got Nick. Nick's joined us. Hey! There's only waving. You actually speak.
What's that?
You were just waving. I was like, it's a podcast. There's nobody just waving.
Well, that's true.
You need to start doing sign language. Like,
it's just like you need to just really speak, because it's great for people who are watching the video, but you know, for the podcasting audience, there you go.
I was hoping they would feel the disturbance in the force when I wave that hand.
Not everyone's got that, you know. Some of us are just lowly guys who just fix the engines on speeder bikes and stuff. We haven't got the force. Thanks very much, snobs.
With scruffy nerf headers and smugglers.
Yeah, I was listening to Azza talk about the documentary about the U.S. women's soccer team, and the only like glory that I as an American have had watching sport in person with something big was the U.S. women's national team beating the Chinese for the gold medal in 1996. That game was played in Athens, which wasn't far from where I was from. And just to piggyback off of what he says, it's really a travesty that they don't get the compensation that they deserve, because they play a more exciting style of football than the U.S. men's national team. And I can probably name you more players on the U.S. women's national team than I can the U.S. men's national team. In fact, I've got more England jerseys, and I've watched more England matches, and I can tell you more England players than I can for the U.S. men's national team. So yeah, I'm really looking forward. I'm definitely going to watch that documentary.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And
I assume it's going to be coming to Sky at some point as well, because HBO and Sky have that relationship there. So
yeah. So for watching,
does anyone care? I don't know if anyone cares over here. But I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just. It might go on like Sky.
Like the topic.
It might go on Sky. It might go on Sky documentaries. Actually, they have a lot of stuff that comes over that. Yeah. Is just it's there, it's filler at the end of the day. I know it sounds good, sounds really good. I've heard people talk about over here going how dare these women ask for more money than the men, without actually realizing that the money they actually bring in, like Nike's highest selling jersey was the women's US shirt, things like that. And how dare they ask for more money? It's like,
I was going to say they pack out stadiums and like they're like these women are like national celebrities all around the country, so
they are indeed.
Exactly.
But yeah, for watching, obviously I watched Bad Batch this week.
I still haven't seen it.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say that for a show that I was not super excited about. And see, got Hunter right here. And for a show that I wasn't really that excited about, I am really, really, really enjoying this show. I mean,
I refuse to believe that you were not excited about a Star Wars show. I just refuse to believe that. I just refuse.
Okay, let's just say it wasn't the normal level of excitement.
Okay,
I was not as excited as I am normally for a Star Wars property.
Just excited, losing his shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Excited.
I wasn't running around the house, Kevin McAllister, just figuring out everybody's gone, losing my shit and getting ready to go buy some mac and cheese and mess with some burglars type, losing my shit. But no, it's great. And there's like a flip side to this coin, right? What was great was Bad Batch and Loki, obviously, so good. I watched, of all things, last night, Anna's like, why don't we just watch Ghostbusters 2? And I'm like, okay. And I got to be honest with you, I almost wish that we had watched something else, because I love Ghostbusters, but my goodness, that film is a hard watch. Does not stand up well. It is really bad. It is awful. I mean, I even was like, you know what? There was a part of me going, even I wanted it to be good, was going, wow, this is really hot garbage. It's awful. And now I understand why they didn't make a third one back then. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the property rebooted with Afterlife later this year. So
that looks good.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd
looks really good.
It's Paul Rudd. It's got Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and I love the premise of Egon. Obviously, I think that's Egon's grandkids. We saw his flight suit, jumpsuit with the name tag on it in the basement of that barn. And who doesn't love the idea of a gunner's chair on Ecto 1? I'm all for that.
Well, it was in the toy, wasn't it? It was in the toy, wasn't it? That's why it's sort of they've mixed it into the show, into the film, because it was. Yeah. No, that is one of the films that I'm bitterly disappointed we never got, because
should have already
again, it was that brilliant. Exactly, yeah, because it's that brilliant mix of having Finn Wolfhard helps. It's that brilliant mix of catching that nostalgia that we all feel with Stranger Things from our childhood, that something they tried to catch with Cobra Kai in a different way, and then having the feeling of this small town place that maybe hasn't really escaped the 80s with, you know, the Ghostbusters franchise that we've all been waiting to come back. So, yeah, that one's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good time. I'm trying not to build excessive expectation for it, but wicked excited.
I was gonna say, do you know the Batman was supposed to come out this week originally?
You know, we should have had Top Gun for a year. We should have had, obviously, Ghostbusters Afterlife for a year. Yeah. That's just I'm there again. That Batman film, I was not looking forward to it, but when that trailer dropped with Nirvana's "Something in the Way" playing in the background, and that, I thought the suit looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wasn't really over the top. Like, looking forward to it. Oh, I'm in there now. Hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. Smitten like a kitten.
And with it yeah, and obviously with it being filmed in Liverpool as well, it feels a little bit closer to home as well for me. And seeing the set and stuff outside St George's Hall was amazing as well. Just seeing it all set up, and yeah, that must have been like late last summer now or something like that. I can't even remember, but I
know some of those conversations dominated some of our podcast episodes, so that was good fun. But I think we're all ready to see that now.
Yeah, but obviously it doesn't. When's it going to come out? November
March
next
22.
year. Oh, I'm going to say, Jesus.
So do you think there's going to be an extended lag of properties being released, or are we coming to the end of that lag where things that we're going to get, like, I don't know, it's like burping the line, so to speak. You're going to have to get a bunch of stuff released because obviously Black Widow and everything else that we're seeing kind of coming out now. Do you think that is it all going to come out too quickly and there's going to be another dead spot? Or do you think that there's going to be a consistent amount of content coming out now that we're kind of fingers crossed on the other side of COVID?
No, I think it's going to be consistent now, because I think we're going to have, I don't think actually the gap where they stopped recording filming was long enough to suggest that there'd be any issues, because a lot of the things that shut down only actually shut down for like 2 or 3 months, and the technology now allows films to be sorted in other ways. I mean, like, if you want to talk about technology, like Army of the Dead, which is a movie I still haven't seen yet, but I don't know if you guys heard this, but with Army of the Dead, because of the lag between when it was supposed to come out and when it did come out, in that lag they found out that one of the actors in it, had been accused of something bad. So they decide. No, well, it's just something bad. So they decided to just take him out the film, but they replaced him with another actor, and they went back and did every single scene again with just this new actor, and then so it was all done on green screen, and then digitally painted this one actor into the film. Like, if you can do things like that now, that's incredible. I mean, imagine the time and the effort it took. And he did say it cost millions to do, by the way. But they were they just didn't want this guy in the film. So they were like, no, we don't want him in the film. We don't want the bad publicity. We just don't want him in the film, so we're going to replace him. And the idea of taking one character and redoing all those scenes digitally on green screen and then painting them back into the movies, absolutely amazing. So that shows you now where we are with technology. So I don't think anything's shut down long enough. So I think we will have now a constant stream of movies. It's just when they decide or where they decide. Like, as I said, with like something like the Tomorrow War, they decided it was going on too long. They sold the rights just to make sure that they made money, and it's going to be on Amazon next weekend for the 4th of July weekend.
Right.
Because nothing says going to war like the 4th of July.
Yeah. America.
It's a sore spot. I'm still really angry about that war. I'm still really angry. Honestly. I honestly think there are Americans that feel that English people are still angry though.
You would not be surprised how many times I get asked, like, so is this weekend a sore spot for you? And I'm like, No, I got a day off. I was like,
Yeah.
why am I going to be sure about that? Like,
Yeah,
give me 2 days off. I'll wave flags and do the whole thing. Yeah. Why not?
I'll be Yankee Doodle and Star Spangled and all that business for 2 days off of work. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Run around in me speedos, go woo.
that's right.
Oh,
That's right.
oh, amazing, amazing. Yeah, so I think we'll get a constant flow now. So we got. Let's just talk about the stuff that we got this weekend. We got a ShangChi trailer, and it was really, really good. It really. The first trailer's a bit, this is okay. Didn't really feel like a Marvel property though. It just felt like a film that had Marvel stuck on the front of it. This one felt like a Marvel movie. It felt like it had lots of references to the 10 Rings. It had the 10 Rings in it. There's obviously mystic power. There's a lot going on, and we know we're obviously the Marvel world is now stretching out and out and out and out further different directions. This really felt like a Marvel movie, and added to that, we got a scene at the end which really did confirm that it is a Marvel movie. They stuck in there the Abomination having a fight against Wong from Doctor Strange. I mean, some people might feel like they crowbarred that into making a Marvel film, but I thought that was unbelievable at the end, and it looks really good. It looks really, really good.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with it, and I'm not overly surprised because, like, you think about it logistically. So the movie comes out September. You want to kind of build the hype up with the first trailer, but you don't want to give away everything. Like here's some bits. We're probably still working on the special effects and everything like that. Now here's the next trailer. We've done a lot more work now. We're kind of finishing up. We want to really get you excited. I'm sure there's going to be one more trailer. Probably around late August time, which is really going to be. Oh, I want to go see this now because now they've revealed Abomination. So maybe they gave just a little bit more away to really peak up the interest to get you flooding into cinemas. But yeah, just great trailer. Got a little nugget of some sort of cosmic space dragon, whether it be Fin Fang Foom or someone else, because that's, for anyone who doesn't know, that's really where the 10 Rings came from. They're extraterrestrial power that came from this race of like space dragons. So that's kind of where Fin Fang Foom, the dragon, kind of represents, and he's supposed to be the guardian protector, and that's why they do fit on like people's arms and how he wears it. And I think that's quite.
There's a theory about the dragon, isn't there? But I won't say it on here because I just won't. But there is a theory about the dragon, but I'll leave that for now.
Yeah, that would be a good one to drop in Discord. So if you want to come check out the Discord.
But how? I mean, what is this like? What is this like place at the end? Is this like a battle of the champions, like we saw in Thor Ragnarok with Hulk fighting Thor? Because to have to bring everyone thought like the Abomination was just gonna be like stuck in some kind of prison after the Incredible Hulk, and they were going to bring him out maybe, when they wanted him in the Thunderbolt. So where's this place, and why is he fighting a cage fight against the Sorcerer?
Well, I guess my question is, why would Wong be there? Because if Wong's
that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think because I can imagine for Abomination, I don't think you need much motivation. If it's just, for prize money and it's this all-out tournament, sure, whatever. Prize money is enough to motivate someone like that. You know what I mean? He's probably been obviously dishonorably discharged. He may have escaped from the military, so he's just kind of living.
You can't let him free. I know it's America and you do mad shit, but you just can't let the Abomination walk free. No, Jesus Christ, man!
I said escape. He escaped. He's a giant monster. How are you going to cage that?
Surely he'd be in the raft.
Maybe he escaped mid-transportation. There's
Nick's keeping his powder dry. Yeah, I can tell.
Oh, no,
Nick's got all the theories. I can tell.
I'm gonna be really honest with you about something. I did not see the Abomination or Wong. You have to understand. I've been a bit off my rocker this week.
No. You have.
I've been a bit.
You don't need to go into that.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
like it's mad though. Like you said that, I was like, I saw the dragon.
Yeah.
And maybe I saw that, and my brain just went off into Fin Fang Foom, territory,
Yeah.
and maybe it just didn't register. But now you got me like, now I got to go back and watch it. But this brings up why I love Marvel. I love the dense.
To be
detail.
fair, yeah. To be fair, I'll be honest. I didn't catch it first time. I go and watch a numerous amount of YouTube videos, and I was like, I was just watching it for the sake of what you're watching it.
Yeah.
You're trying to take it in, but I didn't see it straight away that it was him, because why would it be him? That's why I was like, because you've just seen a dragon. It could be anything. You've just seen a dragon, so this massive hulking creature could be anyone. And the guy, and I actually thought at first it was Shang-Chi in there with him, because you only really see the back of him.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to find out why he's there and what it is. Whether it's like some kind of tournament, whether it's a 10 Rings tournament, whether it's like a tournament of champions, whether these are obstacles put in front of him by his father or whatever. Yeah, or whatever. You're right. Maybe Abomination broke out because he's not just a big hulking monster. Blonsky is a very, very good soul. I mean, he's so good. He's on hire from the SAS or whatever it is, because obviously he's British. Which I really love it. He took Abomination, and the first time he spoke, he was like, another way, like when Hulk, if he becomes that amalgamation of the man and the monster, I'd love it if he become like Professor Abomination. He's like, "All right, Governor, what you doing? Fancy carrot up the apples and pears?" Like they really anglified him. I need a cup of tea, my love.
But that's the deal with Americans in the British accent. They think that every accent is Cockney. Yeah. Oh my God. You don't know how many times we've been out in public and people hear my wife speak and they go, "Are you from New Zealand?" And it's
Guilty.
like, have you ever met a Kiwi before? Are you from Australia? Does she sound like she's Australian? No.
Irish.
I
got Irish when I was there. I got Irish quite a lot.
I've had Irish, Scottish, Australian, New Zealand, South African. I've had
nobody's
Canadian.
ever mistaken me for what anything
I was going to say someone else.
I am.
No.
Yeah. Very distinguishable now.
Yes.
Yes.
They're like, yes. The Southern redneck. Has
Are you from the bayou? Do you wrestle gators?
That's right. It does. It looks to get a driver's license. You have to pin a gator to get a driver's license down here.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Totally.
And marry a cousin.
Why do you think I branched out? The choices were slim. Only trees around here look like a telephone pole. Don't branch out much.
Oh, dear me. The gene pool is well and truly...
The gene pool's about as deep as a baby pool with a crack in the bottom of it in the dead of July. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I heard a banjo off in the distance. It was distracting me. It's that time of morning.
It's that time of day. It's the time of day we go out looking for strangers. Looking for the strangers.
On an evening
from my front porch.
And on the evening, kids, when the sun goes down, if you listen closely, you can hear the pigs squeal and the banjos play. Or is it a pig? Sorry. You went there.
It's got the rail.
So, Shang-Chi, yeah. No, Shang-Chi, yeah. Let's move back quickly, very, very quickly. No, it does feel finally like it is a proper Marvel film. So it's it's not like I wouldn't have gone to see it anyway. But the first one just looked like, as I said, a slightly mystic film about a kid who doesn't really like his dad, and he wants to fight him. And now this is looking like a proper Marvel film.
Yeah, I just need to know why.
To be fair,
because
that's what's really interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, for Wong to be there's got to be a threat. Like, there's got to be something wrong for his involvement. So it's interesting, and again, I'm glad we're kind of getting that Wong involvement, because you think about it, was it March, June, sometime next year? We also getting Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. So he's starting to get those like threads. And again, like you said, this is what Marvel's good at, like just branching out and connecting all of its stuff, those little bits and pieces that tie to other properties.
Well, you got to pay the bills, haven't you? You know what I mean? You got to pay the bills. Wong's got to go out there and earn a living. You know, being a sorcerer doesn't pay the bills. I mean, he's looking after those guys. You know what I mean? So, you know, once in a while, he goes out and has a little fight, pays the bills. You know, he's a mystic cage fighter on the sly.
I was going to say he's earning his pocket money.
Yeah, to go get his sandwich. Don't you remember at the beginning of Infinity War?
What did he have? He only had the yen or something like that.
Yeah.
He's got to eat his ice cream.
He's got to go out there. He's got to get his was it his Beyonce albums or his Adele? No, it was Adele, wasn't it? It was Adele. He was listening to Adele.
Yeah, it was Beyonce.
Oh, was it?
He is. Yeah. He is a Beyonce.
So there you go. He streams. You know, he streams. All those things cost money. So I wonder with that as well, because I think the first trailer for the Eternals was a little bit like light as well on sort of the sprinkling of Marvel, apart from at the end where he mentioned Captain Rogers and Tony Stark. So I wonder as well whether the next one will start get that little feel as well of, or you know, something dropped in there, a little bit more connectivity. That, listen, that's what we demand, isn't it? It's what the thing has always been with the Marvel films, has been that little bit of connectivity that just pulls them all together. That does make them, just takes them away from Gene, just that little standalone to going, you can start pointing the things then. Because at the end of the day, if this trailer hadn't had the Abomination and Wong in, yes, it's a good trailer, and it does show more of the film, but this is the main thing we've been talking about. We're like, why? So we're already speculating, and we're already making theories, because that's what people love to do about Marvel films. How does that connect? Where does that go? What's that thing? Straight away. So I wonder if like that, and from that first Eternals trailer, we did get that. Why does he know? Why is she calling him Captain Rogers and not Captain America and blah blah blah? So I wonder if the Eternals will have a little bit more in it as well.
Yeah, the subtle connectivity that started at the end of the first Iron Man film, you know what I mean, with Samuel L. Jackson, that builds to tangible bonds that leads to the crossover films that are so epically massive. You know, I've been kind of waiting to see where's this all building towards, because obviously WandaVision had its purpose, and Captain America, or the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier had its role to play. And now we're in the middle of Loki, and man, I have to say, wickedly enjoying that show. Even though I'm a bit lost at times, I'm happily lost because I'm just excited to see where the story is going to take me. But you ask yourself, what's Black Widow going to bring to this? Is it going to have something in it is it going to have its breadcrumb? Is it going to have its connectivity? Especially, I think, because of the fact that she has expired. You know what I mean, so to speak.
Don't you see those words?
We'll find. We will talk about Loki in a little bit, but all right. Goatee says in the comments, "Are you sure it's Wong, guys? I didn't see a close of him. It just seems a bit odd to see him in it. That's all. Well, if it isn't Wong, it's definitely a sorcerer. It's definitely a sorcerer. Like, because you see the magic. If it's not Wong, it's definitely one of the sorcerers from that lot. So, but I think the money's would be that if you're gonna do it, you'd make it Wong. Go on.
When it was actually filming, when ShangChi was actually filming, and I think it filmed in Australia, Benedict Wong took an Instagram photo with some of the cast from ShangChi, and he just happened to be in the area for lunch. So, I think that's kind of why everyone's leading. So that was posted by one of our good buddies over at People of Color on Twitter. So they actually posted that picture, and that was the fall of last year. So I think there's some strong connection there. It's probably Wong, but we'll have to wait and see for sure.
Yeah, I think it probably is. If you're gonna put someone in, see, this is the other thing with Marvel. They don't waste characters. If you're gonna put someone in there, don't make them some no mark. That like it's the point of like, does Abomination? We'll find this out in the film. Does Abomination really need to be there? Does he add anything? Will he add anything? Probably not. But why waste the character? You've got the character there, and this is what Marvel also do really, really well. They don't waste characters. If there's someone that can fill a space, then use them, and that's what they tend to do. So if you're gonna have two guys fighting, you might as well have two people that we go, oh my god, what does this mean? What does that mean? And it just helps this whole thing with Marvel, which has become, and it's something actually Star Wars have started to do as well, and we've seen that in the Bad Batch this week, in the last couple of weeks, and we've seen it earlier as well. They're starting to put old characters in it, starting to thread them through. It's something we saw in Rebels, it's something obviously we saw in Mandalorian with Boba Fett. You're starting to see them get really good at weaving, like we talked about it last week, didn't we, Nick, as well, with like, you know, with what they did in the Mandalorian, where they brought back old characters, what they've done with what they did with Thrawn in you know, in Rebels. They're getting really clever now with using characters rather than just going, oh, here's just this person. So it's that Disney no. Listen, characters equal toys. Let's get it right.
Yes, but then Hasbro doesn't make enough of those toys, and nobody can get them. Or they make them retailer exclusives that are impossible to acquire unless you're a scalper, or you want to pay 3 times the market value. Sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say the one other thing about wedging in someone like Abomination is we know for a fact, because of the Disney shareholder events, that the Abomination will feature in the She-Hulk show. So maybe it's just a way of kind of like, hey, remember this guy? Here's a
refresh.
Here's a short little thing.
It's so they can put on the poster. It's so they can put on the poster the guy from ShangChi and not the guy from that other film that we don't like to talk about because it wasn't made by us and it has an actor in who doesn't feature anymore. Essentially,
technically an MCU film.
It's how you It's basically like how they've retconned Thor: The Dark World. It's the same thing. It's like they're retconning Abomination by putting him in Shang. So it's basically a refresher without everyone having to go back to the Incredible Hulk, which I still don't think's a bad film. It's just because of all the legal ramifications of being owned by Paramount Universal, sorry. And them not, because the Hulk rights are still owned by Universal. That's why they could never make a Hulk standalone film. And they can't be arsed buying them because there's no value in it, because there's just no value in a Hulk standalone. And because he was played by Ed Norton as well, they just don't like to talk about it. So, and in fact, they'd probably just get rid of it altogether if they could, because it's just only that Tony Stark's in at the end of it as well. So
yeah.
There you go. So it looks really good. Looks really good. So looking forward to that one now. We had another big trailer this week as well. We had the Suicide Squad trailer. What's really interesting about this one is, right, apart from everything else, is it says at the beginning of the trailer from the director who brought you the Galaxy of the Guardian of the Galaxy, sorry. So they make a Marvel reference in this trailer, which is really interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, they've got to, right? Because, like, how else do you, like, that was a successful film. Everyone tends to really, really enjoy it. If they don't like that one, they like the second one. So he's got that recognizable name, or he's got the attachment to a recognizable movie, because you don't really want to say the follow-up to the hit Suicide Squad movie. Like, you're kind of like, let's just forget that piece of it and just focus on the fact that, hey, we got a really good director to do this one that everyone tends to really, really like. So go watch it because of that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it weird to me that, like, it's the exact same title as the last film?
It's got the in it.
I know. I mean, minus the. It's like.
I actually thought that was a clever way of doing it. It's not like Suicide Squad. It's the Suicide Squad. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it almost feels like a bit of a dig. Like, we're just gonna reboot this. Yeah. Like, imagine the other one didn't exist.
Yeah. It is. It's a basic way of saying. Go on, Nick.
No, I was just gonna say, if Idris Elba's in it, I'm sold. I'm gonna watch it. I mean, that man is just like, he's just an incredible talent, and everything else is just icing on the cake after that.
Yeah, it's Did you ever find it weird when you found out Idris Elba was British as well? That was like the weirdest moment for me. It was like when it was like I'd been watching The
It
Wire
was because I knew
and it
him
was
from
like
The Wire.
yeah, it was like this guy's this like because no one had ever heard of him in this country when he was even if he'd done because we didn't get The Wire for like 3 or 4 years later, like when it came on BBC Two over here. It was like this guy was not big, and then he was in
Pacific Rim.
he was in a movie. I'm trying to. No, before that he was in. Well, it mightn't have been before that. He was in a movie, a British crime movie, and it he's Cockney. I think everyone was like, "You're British."
Oh,
so that was weird.
Was it Luther?
Luther was a series where he plays a police
No,
officer.
I never
And it
ever
is
saw
some of
Luther.
the
It was
best- some of the best TV I've seen. It's
no,
up
I've
there
seen
with
Luther
one.
now, but yeah, then I hadn't seen him. No, what was he in? It was with a guy thing. What
Ritchie?
was it called? What was it called? Yeah, Guy
It was
Ritchie.
a Guy Ritchie
Ritchie
film.
movie.
Was it Rock and Roller? With
Yeah, it was Rock and Roller. Yeah, it was Rock and
Yeah.
Roller, which is a really good film actually, and I'm really gutted it never got a sequel because it's a good movie. It just never did anything at the time. But if you look back on it, like the cast is amazing.
Sure.
It was just like wrong time, wrong place.
Yeah.
But it was a really good movie. But
was
what's
gonna say-
interesting about his character is, go on.
I was just going to say, everyone always forgets Idris Elba was in The Office as well. And he plays his English accent.
Stop.
Yeah, true.
Which Office?
The American Office.
The American? Oh, I've never seen The American Office.
Yeah. I've watched bits of it. I've never really watched it full stop. But in Pacific Rim, his name was Stacker Pentecost. How big of a best that like that you're like destined to be a badass with a name like that. You know what I mean? And I know that's a film that a lot of people hate, but I absolutely love his
Guilty
I
pleasure.
think it's great.
Yeah, I
Guilty
love it.
pleasure.
Yeah, I love it. I love his
Charlie
whole,
Day. When I watch it, think of it now, and knowing what I know about Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Charlie Day completely makes sense. His character now, whereas beforehand it was like a weird character with there was like a partnership with a British guy who was the most British guy ever. But now that completely makes sense with knowing Charlie Day's character from It's Always Sunny. But going back to Idris Elba, like it's a weird one because obviously he's playing Bloodsport. But essentially, he's taking over from Deadshot, who was played by Will Smith.
Will Smith.
And in this, he's like the main focal point at the beginning of the trailer. He's not gonna do it, and they're like, his daughter rings him, and in the first movie, we had the whole thing with Will Smith's daughter. So that whole thing is a little bit like they've got very similar names. They sort of do similar kind of thing. It does feel like a slight retcon of a character again into the Suicide Squad. It is,
I was gonna say
there are those like. I was just gonna say there's a lot of winks and nods as well to the first one. There's like obviously we get like obviously Harley Quinn's in there, the original Harley Quinn, and we get what's the other guys, the main guys, Rick Flag, is it?
Yes.
Rick Flag.
Yes. Joel.
Yeah.
Kinnaman's
So we get him,
character,
and they give each other like a little knowing look. And in the first trailer, they're like, "Oh, I was about to come and rescue you." So there's that like idea that they've already got a pre-existing relationship. So there are loads of nods and winks to the first movie, and obviously, and Waller's back, and it's the original Waller, but without ever mentioning. And then I suppose that's a very comic book thing to do, isn't it? Though, because in comic books, they don't often reference another comic, or a comic is one guy will be writing the comic, and then someone else will take it on. It's still the same characters. They'll bring in new characters. So it does feel quite comic book in that kind of thing. Just moving it forward, not mentioning the past, but there are nods to it.
Well, and they did something very interesting as well with the trailer because they referenced that Bloodsport had actually injured Superman. And that hadn't happened in any of the films. Obviously, that was a comic book reference. Yeah. So they've kind of basically just like pointed back to. So they're doing some clever things with it. But again, I'm not shocked because this is James Gunn and he is a massive comic book fan. So I think seeing pieces like that come together and how he's kind of nuanced the references, I think we've still got a lot more to look forward to in relation to this film. Like, I don't think we've seen the best bits just in the trailer. And that gets me excited, you know what I mean? When there's more to see, and it's going to, again, James Gunn loves to go crazy with this stuff. So, I'm excited for it. It looks good.
Or do you think it's going to be a Boss soundtrack in the same ilk of Guardians and Guardians 2?
I don't think that's a question. I think
okay, I hope that's a given. I look forward to the soundtrack of a James Gunn film about as much as I look forward to the film itself, to be fair.
Yeah, he literally locks himself away, like when he's writing this stuff and when he's piecing it together, and he just listens. Like I remember, I used to follow his Instagram a bit more closely, but he'll just listen to loads of music, like hundreds of different tracks to like try and comprise like the best playlist that basically goes with the film.
You know, I think I have to take this point to throw the gauntlet down at Ped and say I think it's time that he and I square off in a music knowledge competition. Like something like a Beat Shazam kind of thing where you play like the first 3 seconds of the song, point for a title, point for an artist.
I just see the thing about it is right. That's not knowledge, right? For me, it's just being old. It's not even knowledge. It's just there. It's just in like, it's just, I don't know. I'm not even like a massive music buff. I think I don't know. I was gonna say though, the first 2 soundtracks of Guardians of the Galaxy basically were the soundtrack of the last time I went to the US and driving like down from San Francisco to LA to San Diego. We just we put them all on shuffle. In fact, I think we had a whole Marvel playlist of all the different songs from Marvel movies and put them in one big created this big playlist. But obviously a lot of them were from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and so many of those songs good. Which I'd never even heard of, like things like Fox on the Run, which are just like. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's not even like a big. It's not even a big song. But when you put it in you listen to it and you've got the relevance of what happens in the movie, the movies, it suddenly becomes a little bit. Yeah, or like the rubber band. Is also another one. Rubber Band Man is like when I'm on a run and that comes on, I'm just instantly just energized because I'm suddenly energized by the idea of that coming in Avengers. The first time we see the Guardians in Avengers, and I'm just like, and they're all singing it, and I'm suddenly it just gets me through up a hill or something. And it's mad that like these songs that I had no reference to, suddenly you add the reference of being of a certain point in a movie, just gets the adrenaline. Same with AC/DC, like a load of AC/DC songs on there, and it's suddenly you just get that when I hear down down down. I'm suddenly taken back to Iron Man jumping out of a plane, going down to his expo, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm all for this. I actually remember genuinely true. When I did the Liverpool Marathon in 2011, I got to like the last 2 miles and I was really struggling. I was just like, right, compose yourself, just skip. AC/DC down, and that was me. And I just went into tunnel vision. Then I suddenly become Iron Man and finished the last. I think I just put on repeat.
If you can take Glenn Campbell's Southern Nights and Brandy by Looking Glass and make them cool again, then my friend, you can do just about anything. And I love those songs. If Brandy comes on
Lakeshore Drive is another one.
Oh, if Brandy comes on in the car, my wife looks at me and says, don't. And it's just like, it's useless. Don't waste your breath because I'm singing every single word. You know what I mean?
Lakeshore Drive's amazing as well. Yeah. And it contains no drug references whatsoever. None at all. Oh, brilliant. We diverse. Yeah. Trailers. Suicide Squad trailer. No, it was a good trailer. It was obviously... The weasel bit was weird. He's killed 29 children. Okay, you're gonna die. No, and obviously Operation Starfish and all the rest of it, and like with John Cena. That is a reference to a butthole. That is commonly slang for a butthole. Is it a butthole? Jesus.
Which they're.
Yeah, I think this film's.
I was gonna say, and they're currently filming the spin-off. Peacemaker show with John Cena for HBO Max.
That's outstanding. I'm looking forward to that. I think the film's going to be fun, and I think it's going to be a much a much more enjoyable experience than the first one was. And I wanted that first one to be good.
I know. Well, did you guys hear the story about John Cena and the Suicide Squad and the empanadas? Has anyone heard this?
No.
All right, so they're filming on set, and there's this scene where John Cena has to eat an empanada, like just a little, thing and he just eats it. Well, it kept going wrong. Something happened and they had to film multiple ones. Well, John Cena didn't just like pretend to eat it or take a bite and then just like wait for the next eat. He ate like the whole empanada and they had to film it 29 times throughout the day. He ate 29 empanadas. Like he's just shoving food and he's like, I've never been so full.
I don't even know what an empanada. What the hell is that?
You can go Google it. I think it's like this little like
I can't even spell it. So I'm going to Google it.
Pastry that has like beef and like onions and like cheese in it. Or there's sweet. You can have a sweet empanada as well, I think, maybe.
But yeah, like they're only like
deep fried. This big. Deep fried, you're going to get it in America or Scotland.
Roll. It's like a little sausage roll.
Just call it a sausage roll.
It's an empanada. But anyway, he had to eat 29 in one day because he just kind of kept going through. And he's like, no, I'll just keep eating them. I want it to be like a real authentic scene. Yeah, so John Cena's a madman.
I could eat 29 Greg's steak bakes. I could do that.
Yeah, easy, man. That's easy. That's a day at the beach I could totally for me, that kind of thing.
Greg's steak bakes. Yeah.
A day at the beach. Pen's just there chewing on sausage rolls.
No, not sausage rolls.
I mean, it's better than what
steak bakes. That's where it's at. That's two.
That's what John Cena. Well,
son, that's where it's at.
Compared to what John Cena said he was going to eat at the beach in the last trailer, then I think sausage rolls is the least of my worries.
More preferable.
Or steak bakes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know the weird thing is? I'll just say this straight out for you, Nick. I very, very rarely go to Greg's. It's that thing of we have it, but I just don't. I don't go there. Do you know what I mean? It's like probably like if I was to say something to you like America, you'd be like, no, I don't really go there that often. And if it was like me, I'd be like, I'd be there every day. I'd be there every morning going to Dunkin' Donuts, getting my litre of coffee, and you're like, no, it's just a thing, isn't it? Like everything else.
Coffee and my satchel of donuts. No, I have to admit, it's. I love Ribena, and you just can't get it here, right? Ribena is just, is awesome.
Do you know why? Do you know why?
Why?
Do you know why you can't get Ribena? Because you have health insurance for your teeth, and Ribena will go through your teeth like ass. Honestly, there was a thing here years ago about kids losing their teeth because of Ribena, because of the straw and the sugar that was in it. And it's not the same now, but like honestly, it was like rotten kids' teeth in front of them. That big book of British Smiles comes from Ribena. Yeah, but who the hell drinks Mountain Dew? Again, Mountain Dew is the kind of thing British people drink when they go to America just because they've heard of it's not available here that much.
Yeah. I mean, you know what it is though? Mountain Dew, that stuff will glow if you turn the lights off. You do not want to drink that. I mean, it looks the same way with the lights on as the lights off.
To be fair, right? I can't see when I go to America. The first thing, it's not the first thing, but genuinely, like one of the. This is the weirdest thing, and you two may buy into this, you might not. One of the hidden pleasures of going to America, right, is going to a gas station. Oh my God! All your dreams come true in a gas station. Listen. You go in, you go to the drinks bit, and there are 87 varieties of Coke and Pepsi. It's like. You can have lemon flavor and lime flavor and lemon and lime flavor, strawberry flavor, avocado flavor, Greg's steak break flavor. There's just a million, and so straight away you are just confounded by this, and because you've just saved a ton of money in like the fuel you didn't put in, it would double the amount of fuel. Just like, well, I was expecting to pay $80 for my fuel when I filled it up, so spend the rest on candy and drinks.
Chips.
My God,
crisps. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
there's a slushy machine. Get slushy.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's the thing. Like you go to like 7-Eleven or Quick Trip or any of these places, and you've got like 6 different flavors of like slushy. You know what I mean? And I'm old school, so I'm getting Coke and cherry mixed. You know what I mean? But I have to buy the smaller one because even for me, the cups are obscenely large, right? Like one of the funniest things that happened when Anna was first here was we went to the grocery store and she saw the bucket of ice cream and she's like, what do these people need a bucket of ice cream for? She's like, if it's big enough to need its own handle, it's too much. And I'm like, exactly, it's too much. And I was like, have you seen?
You've got to keep the calories up.
What?
Haven't you? You've got to keep the calories up. If you're going to look a certain way, you've got to keep the calories up.
Listen,
that's how it's done with them.
Why do you think there's so many people on mobility scooters here? I mean, Sugar diabetes ain't no joke, man. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff doesn't get to be an epidemic without buckets of ice cream and vats of soda. Yeah.
When I first came over to this country, it was early on with me and my wife, and we went out to a restaurant, and they bring you over a drink, and you're like, oh, great, and like, would you like a free refill? I'm like, free refill? Or if you want one, I must have knocked back about 7. Yeah, I must have knocked back about 7 pink lemonades. I was like, just keep them coming. This is amazing.
And us idiots over here are paying £3 a glass for a Coca-Cola. Like, whoa, no, I demand a refill. I've just come back from the United States of America, sir, and they did it all night for me. They would just keep on refilling it with ice and watered down Coke, son.
I didn't have to get up and go to the bar. You're going to bring it to me and keep refilling me? This place is amazing. It's like friendly.
To be fair, we are getting more of those. We are getting more of those garages. To be fair, and there's one not too far from. It's by Kirby, and it's I've heard a lot of like chat on Twitter because it's got a Cinnabon. And everyone's like, "Oh my god,
there again,
you get Cinnabon in this garage." It's like so
diabetes in a
people are like
shaped form.
Yeah, people are like yeah, we've got to. So people will be making pilgrimages now to this service station garage in Kirby to get their Cinnabon. Honestly, so
I can't eat them.
It's one of those things
really too sweet.
Someone just said in the comments, bread in America is basically cake.
It is. It is. Listen, it is exactly the same.
That was Mitchell
100% right. Bread in America is too sweet. It really, really is. You have to go and buy something that's like an artisan bread from like a health food store for it not to have enough sugar in it to give you the shakes. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like I'm impervious to the effects of sugar now. I could literally go get a bowl of sugar and sit here and eat it with you guys. And it wouldn't affect me at all. I'm now impervious.
You think that's one of the food groups?
Sugar isn't. It's not. It's in your pyramid. It's got to be the base as much of that shit as we eat.
Mix it with caffeine. Good to go.
I can't. I know. Well, just before we move on, I remember when we went to America in 2012, we went to Vegas, and we made this foolhardy decision to drive. Well, I mean, I drove to LA from Vegas. And I drove back
Barstow,
in the same
Baker,
day.
and Purdue, man. You took the Fear and Loathing road.
So, So really what we should have just done is got a cheap motel for the night and drove back the next day. But we didn't want to waste any time, so we drove back the same night. So on the way back, we're driving back and we're coming out of LA and it's already dark. And I'm like, oh my God, we've been up since early. I drove here and I'm a bit tired. Been walking around LA all day, seeing the sights, gone and seen everything. And we get to this service station. I think it was by Barstow. It's like, right, got to go in and we've got to get loads of sweets and I've got to get the biggest coffee I can because I had just had visions of Sam falling asleep and then me, because you're driving through the darkest, you're driving through desert and there's no lights and there's no nothing. Desolate. And I had visions of me being doing the old Homer Simpson of falling asleep, thinking I'm still driving and then ending up like over there. I got this coffee that was like honestly, it could have handled itself against the iceberg in Titanic better than the boat did. Honestly, it was huge, and I'm just like, go, and somehow I made it. Somehow it was like when Vegas shone its lights like the Emerald City of Oz in front of me. It was just, and it does when you come over that hill. Yeah. I was just like, oh wow, I've made it. And I think that was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. We got back. But it was just like it was those treats and those giant coffees that got me through the night. So big up American sugar. There you go. I mean, you can get rid of the oil industry, you can get rid of the gas industry, you can get rid of the coal industry. Sugar. If the sugar industry ever goes in America, oh my god, it will be the end. There you go. It's a little insight to how good sugar is.
And yet again, we digress.
So let's talk about finally. Let's talk about Loki. If you've not watched Loki this week, then this is the point to exit the podcast or the video and come back later. Because we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it now. So Loki, another really good episode. And this episode to me, and this will continue a theme we've been like talking about. It felt very British to me. It felt very Doctor Who. The humour was very, very British. The swear words were very, very British. And it did feel like a Doctor Who. It felt like, not cheap, but like a lot of like Doctor Who, certainly back in the day, would be shot within a quarry with strange lighting to make it look like it was on Earth. And only later on in the episode did we get into like the town and the bright lights and a bit more money being spent. But to me, this whole thing just felt like a real British Doctor Who kind of moment in Loki.
I went through to watch the first time, and I think I texted you guys in the group, and I was like, this one was kind of a bit, I was like, I don't know, maybe like went over my head. And there again, I think it was because when I watched it, I had some other things on my mind. So on Friday morning, when I was kind of at a low point in my work, I sat down and just threw it on my phone and watched it again. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I saw some of the that he had made earlier in our group chat. And it's a really fun episode. And it's a testament to how much I'm enjoying this show. Yeah. It's wicked.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I mean, it was a lot of a kind of like character development and things like that. And then you've got the introduction of, the new variant of Loki. And then they do drop, some big information. Like we obviously got a bit more insight into the TVA. It's kind of like, where they come from and things like that. We get, and now not everyone may have picked up on this, but what I really loved about this episode was the fact that they retconned something from the comics into the show with Enchantress, and they dropped the name a few times, like enchanting and going through all of that. Like she wasn't like Sylvie as Enchantress was an actual Asgardian character, so like to make her a variant of Loki, I thought was fantastic because it adds a level of depth to the character now and like binds it. Like if she wants to continue being in the MCU, now you've got Enchantress that was like part Loki, so it just adds that kind of like tether to the MCU as opposed to trying to build up like, oh well, she's an Asgardian and all of this. Like it just, you kind of lose it in the source with some of that. So I thought it was a really intelligent way, like they thought about how best to do this.
And also, what's cool about that is you're bringing in a character. They've done this before with mixed characters. Yeah. You're bringing in a character and just saying, well, yeah, that's one thing, this is another. But a lot of that comes, and this was mentioned quite heavily in this episode, was a lot of that comes because she did have a different upbringing. So she when she's listening to Loki talk about his mother, she's like, well, I didn't have that. That's not my childhood. And so obviously their paths diverted very early on. Not only, it's one male and one female. They're obviously their upbringings were different. So it'd be interesting to find out who brought her up. There's been mentions out there. Did Hela bring her up? Was it, was it Hela who helped bring her up, and that's why she is the way she is, or whatever. So it is those things. There are mentions of, Enchantress, which is interesting because talking about Suicide Squad, Enchantress, the DC version of Enchantress was the the bad guy in their first film. So again, you don't really want to confuse the audience as well. So I just thought it was really good and I think one of the things early on was obviously we got the early stuff of her basically going into the mind of one of those guys and taking them somewhere else and trying to get the secrets out of them, and that sort of dropped in a little hint of maybe something that could have been going on in this episode.
Foreshadowing. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was kind of like it starting the episode off that way just immediately kind of puts it into your head that like, oh, you can't, like, as a viewer, we've now can we trust what we're seeing? You know what I mean? And that comes back later into the episode, like further down the road. Like, well, how do if she can do this, then all of a sudden, it becomes like unreliable narration. Like we don't know what we're seeing, and it pans back to like for anyone who's seen. I was just talking about this movie before. Now I've forgotten about the one with names are just escaping me. I can't think of the name of the film. The one with the dreams and they're going deep into the dreams with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Inception.
Ugh, Jesus. But it had that very Inception feel. So, do you want to? Can we get into this next bit so we can just dive into like the theories here?
Yeah, just get into it.
Just dive into it.
Get into it.
There's obviously a bit, and it's being discussed when Sylvie falls asleep on the train.
Whoa, go back. No, go back. Go back. Go back.
Because that was bit after. I need to rewatch
There's a scene. There's a scene before that when they've walked across and they're trying to get to the train, or they find out about the train, and
that's right. Yeah.
She tries to enchant him. She puts her hand on him. And we've already gone through the process of seeing what happens when she tries to, when she does grab hold of someone. She can get into their head. She sat there in the bar with the girl having a drink, trying to get the secret of them. So she tries to do that, and he says to her, "What are you doing?" And then she says to him, "What are you doing?" Almost like she's trying to enchant him, but he's also trying to enchant her. She also explains the rules of enchanting people, which she says, I can enchant people, but when they're strong-minded, they're in there with me. As in, they're conscious of what's going on, but we are sort of in our little dream world. So then you get to the train. So everything from that point, I feel, is unreliable narration.
Okay.
Because you're on the train, and it's when he changed into the suit to get on the train, that to me just went proper Rick and Morty. Then he even looked like Rick in the suit.
I know. And he was drunk.
And he was drunk. But he looked like Rick when he had the security guard suit on. I just thought that was a proper Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So he gets on, and yes, they're sitting there in the booth, and they're having a chat, and they're letting all the feelings out. And then he starts drinking, and then she falls asleep. And then when she wakes up, you're right. It's like a different world. He's drunk. He's having the time of his life.
Everyone's joining in, and
there's echoes of like Total Recall in there as well.
Yeah.
Inception, Total Recall. Go on. So go back to the point you were going to make. I was just filled in the gaps. That's all.
So obviously, and there's little like details, isn't it? Like she's like, because she's instantly like, oh, you're attracting too much attention, things like that, and like it almost seems like he's trying to develop the world around her to get her to kind of relax. But like it's almost like he notices she's skeptical and like people, are paying attention. All of a sudden, a guy slips away, he comes back, and they end up having to, get in this fight, and they get essentially thrown off the train via a window. So then they decide, this isn't going to work. Like, and the the little box that they have that they need to power up. Essentially, that's the whole goal of this, to power this up so they can travel through the time stream. Is broken. They make their way to the town and like, okay, well, maybe we can save the shuttle. We can do all this. And it's this kind of like this air of urgency. Like, we've got to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to trust me to work together. And he even says that, do you trust me? And she was like, I guess I have to, kind of thing. And you have that whole montage of them racing towards the shuttle, but trying to fight through the guards. And the camera work for that, the whole sequence was phenomenal. But there's a part in it which really threw me, and you can't help but notice it when, they're fighting through, everything seems normal. Well, a building comes crashing down, and all of a sudden you see Loki put his hand up on almost reverse time, which is very, again, Inception. And I don't know, like, threw me, because there was nothing coming out of his hands. Usually when he uses magic, green comes out of his hands and stuff like that. But it's almost like he reversed time or used some sort of like, telepathic power to move it back to where it was weird and it threw me.
Yeah.
And then obviously they race towards the shuttle and they lose the shuttle and it's all hope is lost and, the episode ends. But
that one moment, I never thought about that when I was watching. I just thought that when he said he's got this, he just had the ability to push it back. I didn't think it was time, controlling time. I just thought he had the ability. You are right about the colour not coming out of his fingers. And everything in these shows, there is always a reason for everything that happens. Yeah. There's a reason for everything. Even the way they were sat on the train, they were sat round in like a booth, and it was very similar to how the show started, with how they were sat when she was trying to get the information out of one of the Minutemen.
Yep.
So it's all there to try and trick, because don't forget, this is a show about the Lord of Mischief, the trickster, the mischievous scamp, and everything is, the narrative of the show is created in the same way. So I personally feel like there is something going on. I don't know who's in complete control, but I do feel like even when he broke the little machine that would have got them back, did that really happen?
Yeah.
Did he break it? Was that just, listen, he can do whatever he wants. He can, even that moment, it could have all been real, but that moment could have been wrong. He might have pretended it was broke so that they had to work together, so he never felt like, because he probably knew that there was no, if it was real, this, by the way, there was no way they were going to get off that planet unless they worked together. Yeah. And by eliminating the thing that she wanted off him, meant they had to work together. So even something like that, even if it was all real, and that moment of him breaking it was false.
To develop trust.
Yeah, because otherwise, it's great him having that machine, but he needed to get power for it. That was the end game. But she's of a mind where it's like, I can do this without you. She'd already showed that. But I think that was the moment where she was like, we have to work together, which he already knew. Yeah. Because if they didn't work together, there was no way they were going to get off this rock in time, because they were. So whichever way, I do think that there is something obviously going on. It's never going to be a straightforward episode. And I know a lot of people there was always this thing of like, this week was always going to be a bit like a talky episode. Yeah. You love to talk. Talky talk. So there was always going to be, going to be that, but I thought it was really good. I thought it moved, and the next two apparently are going to be absolutely mental, apparently, which may follow on from what we've just been talking about. So it's, but one of the things we did get from this episode, and I did really like how it was brought up in almost like a nonplussed fashion, was that everyone who works for the TVA is a variant. They're all variants. Like that moment she had with the girl at the beginning come from a real memory, and it was just like the way she said it. She's like, yeah, the variants like us, and it was like, and he was like, what? They all think they're real, and then suddenly you started putting the dots together of going, well, maybe Owen Wilson's character was a jet ski guy in his other he did do that, and this is like an echo of a memory. Maybe the guy who puts the coffee ring stains was a different variant, or the variant before he had his mind wiped, or whatever. But suddenly it just again put that thing of like, these people who work for the TVA are all slaves. Yeah. They're all slaves. If you think about it like that, they are all slaves working for a master who
they've been duped. They've had their minds wiped, and they've basically been told, we made you, you work for us, that's your existence. Like, the whole thing for it is just so, like, kind of dark and seedy. Like, you pull out the foundation of that whole thing, like, oh yeah, we were created to serve the TVA. You pull the rug out from that, the whole pyramid comes toppling down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I liked, she also said something in reference to it was a very small moment, but it was like she was basically saying, this is all against what the universe wants.
Yeah.
The universe wants chaos. It wants to expand. I know that was really interesting as well, because it was basically saying, but it was basically saying, this is not what the universe wants. This is control. Like last week we talked about like space Nazis.
Yeah.
Because it goes against the natural laws of this world. The world wants to expand. It wants multiverses, and it's actually this TVA that is stopping it, and it was growing organically. And I think that's where this whole thing's going. I think what's going to happen is that the TVA will be destroyed.
Yeah.
One of the three will become Kang, and he'll be cast off into space. He'll be lost into space, and he'll come back via Ant-Man 3. But because it won't be an organic thing, it will be like an explosion of. See, because I think what's supposed to happen is like, if you were talking about this naturally, is like all these different branch lines would go away and do their own thing, and it's all like everyone lives in harmony.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to happen is the TVA is going to be destroyed, and all these timelines are going to blow up all at once, and that's going to create the chaos that we're going to see in Spider-Man, and that's going to create the multiverse of madness that we see in Doctor Strange 2. That Doctor Strange has got to have.
Yeah, the whole
because it is this thing of like, because it is an explosion and it doesn't just happen naturally, they're all going to be stuck together and intertwined, and that's where that madness of the multiverse is going to come from. But that is also going to set up, like we said a little bit earlier, the idea of where do the X-Men come from, where do other characters or whatever, is because of this. How do all these characters get into the next Spider-Man film? It's because this show is going to create this element that is going to make them all explode all at once. So when people used to say, well, how are the X-Men going to come into it? This is how they're going to come into it. I think, I know people are like, well, maybe the Eternals bring them in, but this to me is the natural point, because it's going to be an explosion of worlds hitting each other, or multiverses hitting each other by the elimination of the TVA.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like, again, that's kind of like foreshadowing to come for the future of like what they're setting up. Like, just like you said, the utter chaos of once the TVA kind of, it's almost kind of like, I view it as like, watching a river that's been dammed up. Like, once you remove that dam, like everything just flows forward. It all just comes rushing out, and that's going to be, the impact of this multiverse.
But it's not just going to be the dam; it's going to be the dam getting blown up. So it's not just going to be the water, it's going to be the wood, it's going to be the cement, it's going to be whatever holding it up is also going to explode at the same time. There's going to be this is going to create a violent impact on everything, and I think that's what's going to come out of it. One thing I would say, what could be very interesting, is whether we see any of that actually happen before the show finishes. Because I think what we do know is that Loki's going to continue, he's going to be in four. So obviously that Loki is going to become not a variant. He's going to become the main Loki again. Once again, he's going to break free of it, obviously, and that'll be by destroying it, I imagine. And that will introduce any characters in this. So Sylvie again could come into it and could be part of that world as well. She will go into it if she wants to. She might want to go back to her world where she's with their postman, whoever that postman is.
Who maybe the postman's in that world.
No, I know, but who knows? But again, a character then would be available to bring back anytime you want it, because they're out there somewhere. But I just wonder whether any other characters will survive that, or will we see that explosion soon enough in the show that we start getting someone we go, oh my god, there's this person or there's that person, because we get that branch line.
Well, I was going to say, so what I'm excited about for this is, we've talked about before, and we've talked about it offline a lot as well, like a character like Magneto. Like, how do you introduce Magneto, given that his origin is tied so closely to the Holocaust? Like, that whole, trauma basically creates this villain and everything he's about. But it's hard to do that because we're in as far as the MCU timeline, the main MCU timeline, we're in 2023 or something, 2025 or something like that. You know what I mean? It's further along, but the further you go from the actual events of the Holocaust, you end up with a character that's like, well over 80, 90 years old. But now if you introduce this chaotic multiverse explosion, you can take a Magneto from the 60s or 70s, drag him in, like you said, kind of through into the main MCU timeline. So you've still got a character of age of, whoever you end up casting, and you still keep that backstory in place, because it's so important for someone like Magneto. There's going to be other characters that you can do that with, like different, multiverses, and you still have that connection. You just bring them in and, there you go.
That will be interesting to see whether they do bring someone like Magneto in it, just because of that backstory, because he's so heavily attached to a time period. Yeah. It is, because it's obviously tough. It's getting more difficult to obviously we had Captain America and we had a good reason why we got him. but that will be the difficult point. But you're right, you could, if you're mixing in time with different things, then you could cross them over. So that'll all be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting if it goes. We've got 3 episodes left.
Well, and the other thing is as well, like the one, and again, this gets more complicated. They don't all just have to explode into the main MCU timeline at the 2023 mark. They could be, like, based on the multiverse explosion, they could be thrown into the timeline in the 90s, and it kind of starts to explain why no one knew about mutants, because all of a sudden you jammed into this timeline where it doesn't look like mutants are a thing, so now you're hiding. There's no X-Men. And again, it just kind of like starts to build up this foundation of kind of like, all right, well, this is a bit more acceptable why they weren't involved in Endgame, because they've got powers, but they've kind of just been living in secret. No one knows. Like, they didn't get their powers in this timeline. They were thrown into it.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a million different theories, routes we could go down, because that's essentially what this helps create. One thing I would say is, though, is I wonder what the benefit of this will be, whether it'll be short term or will be long term, because it helps Spider-Man, of course, because of the crossover and Sony. So it helps that. It helps identify a bridge and keeps that bridge open for him to go to that universe, or does that universe spew into does that universe become our universe? So you could go, well, that was a different universe, but because of this thing now, we're all actually in the same universe. We've hit that melting pot.
Yeah.
That helps that, and then does Multiverse of Madness basically put the plug in the hole and say, right, this has happened. All these people who've already filtered through are in now, but that's it. I've closed the bridge. I've stopped the multiverses connecting over. So anyone who's connected over in that time, whether it be characters from Spider-Man, X-Men, who you don't have to actually say, but when you do introduce them, you go, yeah, they came over when that thing happened, and they'll give it a name. It'll be that thing, and that's what I imagine will drive the multiverse incidents or whatever. And because I do feel like it benefits Spider-Man massively because of the Sony deal. You get the Multiverse of Madness. Wanda gets her kids back because of it. And then from then on, you've said, right, we've closed the door. We move forward, and we now have access to characters like Blade and other characters who may not have been in this universe, but now are because of this event. But we've closed the door now, and the effects that they were causing on the natural world have ended.
Well,
we are now moving on.
Well, and here's now another element you can throw into that mix. It's not just branch timelines, but now you can go into alternate dimensions. You can release your Mephistos. You can release Nightmare. Because eventually there's going to have to be some sort of antagonist, right? For Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. You're going to have like these big elemental cosmic beings kind of come in. Because at some point, like, it doesn't have to be, like next year or 2 years, but you have to build up to some time. Like, what's your big villain that people are going against? Is it a Galactus? Is it Dormammu? How is this all gonna, play out? And I think, I think they said on the Disney shareholders meeting, isn't the guy who plays Baron Mordo, isn't he coming back as well for Multiverse of Madness? Yeah. So it could be him as well. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot going on. I think the next 3 episodes of Loki could be huge in the next 2 or 3 years, really setting up Marvel. Don't forget as well, things like Kang the Conqueror. I think he's one of the space lizards, the time dudes. I think he's one of them. So he's going to be he's going to go off and he's going to become Kang the Conqueror, and he's going to go into Ant-Man, and that's going to start a whole thing as well. And so the next 3 episodes of this are going to be huge, I think, for the next 2 or 3 years going into... Because who's to say the Eternals? This doesn't wake the Eternals up or something. Do you know what I mean? This isn't the moment which awakes the Eternals up, or this doesn't have some kind of effect on ShangChi where suddenly that I really don't know, but all I do know is that it could like push whatever's happening in Thor. I just think that this is going to really shake up.
It has big implications.
Yeah, it's going to have huge implications to the next couple of years in Marvel. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. We're really excited for next week's episode. So there you go, another episode for us done. Nick's internet. We lost his internet halfway through. Good job he wasn't talking.
Things exploding.
Yeah, his internet exploded. Again, probably like a gator chewed through the wires or something.
Nick's out there wrestling with some gator.
Yeah. So big thanks to Nick for joining as well. If you want to join in the conversation with us, head over to our Discord. You find out all the details on our Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. It is at Nerd Social Club. Jump in the discussions about everything going on in there. Yeah, do that. We're going to be able to get our hands on copies of Black Widow next week. Can't wait for that. Say no more. Say no more. There you go. We'll be back next week. We will see you all then. See you later.